This is the most controversial sports betting strategy that's out there. And I'm going to break it down for you and show you exactly why it works. So let's jump into the laptop and I'm going to show you guys exactly what that looks like. So let's go ahead and take a look at this strategy right here that's produced 77% win-loss ratio, okay, so far this year. Now, let's take a look at some of the plays. Let's take a look at the odds, the most important thing, right? Because people are absolutely so scared to play certain odds. But let's take a look at these odds. If you were just a casual bettor and you were to look at these certain odds, you probably wouldn't play them, right? Because they're not minus 110. They're not minus 120. They're not plus 100, okay? They're minus 300, minus 260, minus 250, minus 310, minus 360, minus 310. So what happens there? You get scared and you think, look, even minus 400. You get scared, you think, oh, like, it's not worth it. I probably can't do that. I can't make those plays. So you end up going and putting your money on a minus 110 and you end up losing, right? That's mostly what everybody thinks. So everybody thinks this type of strategy isn't work. Like, long term, you can't be profitable. You can't do this long term. Well, I've been doing this strategy for years, okay, for years. And just for example, this year alone, this is just in one sector of the strategy. It's produced 19 units, hitting at 77%. Now, why does this strategy work? It works because you implement probability that comes into play with player props, okay? The majority is player props here. There is a section that there's money line spreads and totals as well. But the majority are player props. And the reason why this comes into play with player props is because each player prop here, okay, has a probability of it actually occurring. They have a probability that they're actually going to reach one of these numbers, okay? And that probability correlates with the odds. So there's implied probability and then there's true probability. So for example, let's say right here, you got Vucevic, who is an NBA player, plays for the Bulls, over 30 plus, which is a PRA number, okay? You have his number at minus 220 right here. So implied probability on that is a little bit over like 67%, 68%. That implied, okay? That's what that means. Minus 220, that has right off the bat with no other type of probability or anything like that. That means it has a 67, 68% chance of winning long term, and that's what you have to hit long term at a minus 220 to just break even, okay? But when you go and you actually look up and be able to find the true probability on that given night of him being able to hit 30 plus PRA, your implied probability and your true probability are completely different, okay? So his actual true probability of hitting this number right here on this given night was 80%. So 80% probability for him to hit this number, as in you have an implied probability of minus 220, which is 68%. So you have an edge. These are plays that you have an edge. You can't just go out there randomly betting minus 300s, minus 200s, minus 280s, minus 250s and expect to win at that percentage. You can't. It has to be strategically placed. You have to understand the reasoning behind playing it. Because just like I said, this example right here, he had an 80% chance of hitting this. And the odds were only minus 220, which implied was 68%, but he had an 80%. So that's a differential of 12% edge that you have there. And what happens? Oh, look, he ended up hitting that number. And obviously it doesn't always work out that way, right? Because you do have losses. Losses do occur. And sometimes they come in bunches, just like here. And then people will say this is another thing that people don't understand. So they'll say, these 3 losses right here, it's going to take forever to recoup what you just lost here. Which is true. Maybe it will. But when you go and you hit streaks that are like this right here going down, that's what makes up for those losses. Like look at this right here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 straight wins at even, getting 0.4 of a unit, 0.3, 0.4, 0.3, 0.3, those add up. And those are what you get those losses back, even when they occur in little bunches like this. Your huge win streaks is what equates to you winning long term, and they all add up. And as you go through, they all add up. Like, look at these odds. People think this is insane. People think they would never bet something like this. A lot of people, the misconception too is, well, yeah, you're betting $1,000 on that game. So $1,000 at a minus 250, you're making $400. Like, yeah, that seems worth it because you're making $400. But that's just levels to the game. Okay, if you're not betting $1,000, if you're betting $100, well, guess what? You make $40. Okay, that's still good too. I mean, a profit is a profit. People have to understand that if you're making a profit, that's all that really matters. It's just levels. Levels to how much you're betting is the amount of money that you're going to make. If you're betting $10, yeah, you make $4 on that play. But that's what you deserve to get because that's what you're betting. And people think that, like, oh, it's not worth it. So they'll be like, oh, you know what? Like, if I'm only betting $100 a game, I don't want to make $40. I'd rather go play a minus 110 play. They go and play some ill-advised minus 110 play, and then they lose $100. They lose their $100 rather than winning $40 on a play like this. Okay, and that's not just the only thing. Okay, it's not just the odds and the correlation with the bankroll and realizing that there's levels to the game. You don't need crazy big money. You just have to understand that money is going to add up doing this type of strategy the correct way. And like I said, you can't just go out there betting random minus 250s, minus 300s. They have to be giving you an edge. You have to have a true probability edge on it. You can't just randomly be doing, because I see comments a lot too where people are like, I bet you minus 200s all the time, and they end up losing. Yeah, because you have no idea why you're betting that minus 200. You're just betting the minus 200 because you think it's a good bet, but you don't know the actual probability behind that. Probability is what drives every single play that you should put in. That's what should drive every single play. Okay? And people get so down and out. Like when you hit like a minus 400 and you end up taking a loss like on a minus 400. Oh man, that was just a terrible bet. It is what it is. Sometimes it's going to happen like that. But then, like I said, sometimes you're going to win 10, 15 games in a row. And then what happens there? Recoups all that, so it doesn't even matter. What matters is getting out of the day-to-day process and realizing this right here, look, this is over a whole year. This is over this whole entire year. And this is just an example of this year. I have this stuff tracked for years, going back to like 2021. All right? And there's never been a negative number over here from year to year. Never been a negative number. And people still will tell me that they can't do that type of strategy. They can't do this because it just doesn't feel like to them it works. But this is what it takes to actually be successful. If you're thinking that you're going to go and you're going to do these type of bets, you're going to do minus 110s across the board, try to beat it at 55%, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. Everybody is going to lose trying to do that. Because the probabilities on a lot of minus 110 plays, even player props on minus 110 plays, are below 55% threshold. So you're betting a negative edge. Most of the time you're betting a negative edge. So over long term, your negative is going to translate to being negative over here. People don't understand that. This is one of the most important things about sports betting because people think it is crazy to bet numbers like this. They think there's no value in that, but I just showed you guys a play that had tremendous value, and it was minus 220. Tremendous value there, okay? Even right here, Nathan McKinnon to get 1 point. This is minus 350, okay? And it's funny because I just remember these right off the top of my head. So Nathan McKinnon right here to get 1 point, minus 350, means he has to, implied probability on that's about like 76%, okay? But his actual probability, true probability on that was like 78, 79%. So like 2 or 3% edge, but still an edge. And what happens? He ends up hitting it, okay? What do you recoup? A third of a unit. You grab a third of a unit there, okay? A lot of people will be like, you put $1,000 down to make $285? Well, yeah, I'd rather put $1,000 down to make $285 than put $1,000 down on a minus 110 and then lose $1,000 and be down. So you have to kind of rewire the way you think of sports betting because this strategy is unlike any other strategy that's out there. Okay? People want to get back what they put down. It's just the mentality of somebody that puts in plays, somebody that bets. Okay, it's the mentality. You go into a casino, there are no bets in a casino that you put $1,000 down and you're going to make $400, right? There's no, because they know people won't play that stuff, and people want to play what? You put 1,000 down, you win 1,000. You put 1,000 down, you win 2,000, something like that. They want that type of play, and that's why casinos are so successful, because they drive all the people in there to bet those type of plays, and they all lose long term when they're trying to do it long term. They all lose, and the casinos know that. That's why they make billions and billions of dollars. There's no difference with the sports books here. They flash the minus 110s in your face because they know you're willing to go and bet that minus 110 because you're going to get most of your money back. You're going to double your money if you win. Now, maybe you will win that one, but long term and doing this consistently like this, there's nobody's tracker out there that's doing minus 110 plays that is going to be able to show you guys a profit through month after month after month after month. There's nobody. I'm just going to be honest with you because, like I said, I've tested everybody in the industry. Everybody. There is nobody that hits those numbers consistently to where they can win. Nobody does. And another problem that people, can't seem to grasp is the consistency. So you got, your weekend bettors. They just want to come in on the weekends and play. Guess what? You're going to lose long term doing that. All right? Because you're only playing a couple days out of the week. You got to stay consistent. This is something that you do every single day. If you put your money in the stock market, does the stock on a Tuesday, stop working? No, it doesn't. It still keeps moving, right? Goes up or down. It's the way that it goes. You don't take breaks. There's no breaks really. Maybe once in a while, yeah, you could take a day or two here if you're up. If you're up money, you could take a day or two. That's another thing. If you're up money, yeah, maybe you could take a day or two if you want. If you're down money, that's not when you take a break. You don't take a break when you're on a losing streak. Because this happens with a lot of sports bettors too, is right here, they're like, oh, I'd like to take a break in between right here. Maybe I should take a break because mentally, it screws me up. Well, okay, let's go ahead. You take a break. So then you miss these 4 wins. Then you miss these 3 wins. And then what do? You come back and you get on a tailwind of it being wavy and going back and forth. And you're racking up some more losses. And then you want to take another break. And then what happens here? You miss the big winning streak. It's a recipe for disaster. You got to just stick with it. You got to ride the boat, ride the waves. That's the way that it goes. When you join in and become part of sports betting and doing it this way, the way that I teach, you have to ride. All right? You either ride or you get off the ship. That's it. you either go all in and you do this consistently for a year at least, or you take a hike and go do it somewhere else where you're just going to lose a bunch of money. That's the way real sports betting works. And like I said, I have went through the industry and I haven't found anybody else at minus 110 plays that can do anything like this, because your minus 110 plays have negative probability. Majority of all of them have negative probability. That's why the sports books egg you on to bet those. Okay? And another thing that people see when I throw the tracker up here is you guys see a lot of stuff on FanDuel here and thousands. You're like, oh, how come you're not limited on FanDuel or anything like that? I just log it this way. But this bet is being placed across like 5 different sports books. All right? But I just log it that way because I can't put 5 different bets on here because it would throw winning percentages off and make it seem more of a winning percentage than what it is. But that's how my stuff looks. Like I said, you have to be mentally sound to withstand any type of sports betting. If you're not mentally sound and you're just a degenerate, you just want to go out there and think like, oh, let me just bet a bunch of money. And let me see what happens. Guess what? You're going to end up losing. Now let's review. What are some of the key things that I just showed you in there? All right. First thing is being mentally sound and understanding your bankroll, correlating that to what you're going to win. Okay. Whether you're betting $1,000 a game, $100 a game, $10 a game, be satisfied with what you make. Okay. If you're in this game to take $1,000 and try to make 10 grand in 1 month, guess what? Go take your $1,000, go to the casino, go to the high limit slot machines, and insert that $1,000 into the slot machine and max bet a high limit slot. Because that's about the only way you're going to grab $10,000 in 1 month. So understand that sports betting is not that type of game. Okay? And it's definitely not the right way to do things. So that's one. The next thing is implied probability versus true probability. Everybody thinks it's rigged. Everybody thinks, oh, well, maybe, everything's 50-50 or whatnot. It's not. Okay, you have implied probability, you have true probability. You find the differentials between the both of those, you find yourself an edge in the middle there. That's where the edge is at. And that's majority for player props. And another thing is people like to be like, "Oh, well, I want to know the total or a money line or something like that." Well, listen, if a game is minus 200 for a player prop that gives you an 80% probability and the money line on the Warriors to win a game is minus 200, it's the same bet. A minus 200 is minus 200. Which one's going to have the higher probability, though, and give you a better shot at winning? That's what you got to get through your brain when it comes down to it. You have to stay consistent, right? That's another thing. Staying consistent. If you think you're going to be a part-timer, this game really ain't for you, okay? Because you're going to get in, maybe you win, but then the next weekend you play, maybe you lose. And then maybe you win the next weekend, and then you're getting nowhere, and then you get frustrated, and then you want to quit. So if you're going to go in, you go all in and you stay consistent. And you do this like you would invest money into the stock market, into a 401k. You let the money sit there and you do the work. And then year after year, you see where it goes. You don't get caught up in the daily, "Oh, I lost today, so I think I should quit." That's not how it works, okay? People lose 5% in the stock market every single day sometimes. They'll lose 5% and then they regain the 5% the next week. And then they're back at even. So the 2 weeks they make no money. You don't see them flipping out, selling all their stocks and stuff like that. You got to develop that type of mentality. The mentality of a degenerate is, "Well, I lost money today, now I'm going to quit." And then tomorrow you go and do the same thing over again, and then the next day you lose, you try to quit again. And then you do it again. It's the same rotation. All right? To be a successful sports bettor, you have to grasp the concepts that I just told you in this video. If you don't grasp those concepts, you're going to lose. It's just inevitable. Yeah, you might have some fun, but guess what? In the end, you will lose long term if you don't know the right way to do these things. And I teach people exactly how to do this stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you guys click the link down in the description. And remember, when you have an edge, then every single bet becomes a winning opportunity. As always, guys, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.